In study after study, the science is clear. Urgent action is required to maintain the health of the Great Lakes. But gathering the science is one thing, and generating the political will to act, well, that's another. Joining us now to examine what it will take to translate the science into meaningful engagement for political leaders and citizens across North America, we're joined in Chicago, Illinois by Joel Brameyer. He is president and CEO of the Alliance for the Great Lakes. And here in our studio, Cameron Davis, senior advisor to the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. Michael Goffin, regional director general for Ontario, Environment and Climate Change Canada, and Mary Muter, who's the chair of the Georgian Bay Great Lakes Foundation. And it's good to have you three around our table here in Toronto at TVO. Joel, nice to meet you on the line from Chicago. And let's start there. I want to find out, Joel, what you believe the most pressing issues around the Great Lakes are today.
Well, Steve, as you said in your intro, one of the biggest pressing issue is just getting everybody involved with taking care of the Great Lakes. We've got, as everybody often cites, nearly 20% of the world's fresh surface water right here in our backyards, and it's a tremendous asset. Everybody uses it in their own way and draws some benefit from it, we hope, and the job is getting everybody involved and helping to make sure it's restored and protected for generations to come. That's job one.
Mary, what would you say is the most pressing issue on the Great Lakes today?
I think I would say climate change, and part of it is because we don't really know what it's going to do. It's kind of scary. We know we're going to get more extreme weather events, such as we've had. But on balance, given the summer we just had with very warm temperatures and drought, on balance, the climate models are predicting lowering water levels. So, yeah.
And that's something to be concerned about, obviously.
That's something to be concerned about. The Great Lakes are mainly a finite resource, a gift from the retreat of the Ice Age. So when we start drawing down that finite resource, we're lowering.
Cameron?
Yeah, I think I've got two answers for you, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. One is absolutely public engagement. That is the issue. The other issues will change and go up and down. Sometimes like lake levels, they'll come and go. But if we don't have an ongoing engaged citizenry caring about the lakes, then our ability as government officials can wax and wane to be able to take care of those problems. The second one is just the water. Always follow the water. So we need to make sure that water quality is what it ought to be, because when it's not, it hurts us. How we treat the Great Lakes is a signal of how we treat ourselves.
Michael?
So I agree with everything that's been said. I guess I would add the problem of toxic and nuisance algae in Lake Erie as a pressing current concern.
Because?
Well, it's a threat to human health. It's a threat to the environment. It's also a threat to the economy. And we've seen a tremendous increase in algae over the last few years. So that's our number one issue right now.
Obviously lots of people watching us live near the Great Lakes, but lots don't. So if you live 10 hours north of the Great Lakes and you don't know why algae's a problem in Lake Erie, explain.
So algae, the impacts of algae are algae toxins, which actually are, as I mentioned, a threat to human health. So algae toxins caused the Toledo, Ohio drinking water plant to close down in 2014. Also Pelee Island drinking water treatment plants. But it's also causing impacts on the environment as well. What's causing it is runoff of nutrients from agricultural lands and from municipal sewage treatment plants.
Got it. Joel, how are we doing in terms of making sure that we've got the right kind of science in place to monitor the Great Lakes so we actually know what's going wrong?
Well, building on what Michael just said about nutrients in Lake Erie, one of the big challenges right now is figuring out how do we know that the dollars we're investing and the time we're spending on the ground to solve these problems is actually working. And that's really important because we're not talking about small problems. We're talking about solutions that cost hundreds of millions, if not into the billions of dollars. And so I was really pleased earlier last year when a group of scientists from a few Midwest universities kind of laid out where some of the nutrient problems in Lake Erie are coming from and laid out what's going to need to happen in order to solve those problems. The next step beyond that is making sure we're actually monitoring what's happening in the water so we know if the dollars we're investing in solving these problems and the actions we're taking are actually working. The public really needs to hear at least every year a transparent, clear report on whether or not we're making progress. That's so important to the credibility of our programs and to continuing to build that public support for the Great Lakes that I know we all want.
Mary, same to you. Georgian Bay is your thing. You care about that as much as you care about anything in this world, I bet. And I want to know whether you think we have the science in place to monitor that bay so that you know what's going on there.
I think it's a really good question. Georgian Bay contains the most extensive, high-quality wetlands found anywhere in the Great Lakes, by far. They are under threat with climate change, with warming water temperatures and declining water levels. So, no, we need to do a better job of managing the mainly finite resource in the Great Lakes. And right now, we're able to retain water in Lake Superior and Lake Ontario, but that huge body of water in between Michigan, Huron, Georgian Bay, it's kind of being used as a pressure relief valve for the other Great Lakes. When there's too much water in Lake Superior, discharge it south. When there's not enough, hold it back. And it's a huge body of water. The St. Clair River has been altered by humans for over 100 years.
Altered by humans meaning dredged, I guess that's what you mean?
Yes, shoreline alterations, you name it, gravel and sand mining. It's been assaulted for over 100 years. And many times, compensation structures have been designed and approved, never put in place. We think it's time to, facing climate change, to develop the ability to retain water in all of the Great Lakes and manage it with one control board instead of the way it is now.
Okay, I'm going to leave that aside for a second because I want to find out from Cam how effectively you think the governments on both sides of the border are taking action on the information that science is presenting to them.
Sure. Well, I think we are taking action. We have in the U.S. something called the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, which has helped us on any number of levels, Steve, in terms of taking action. One thing is it's provided us with an influx of resources so that we can take action. Number two, it's really helped us create a tent under which we can coordinate better amongst all of our federal departments for that taking action. So I think it's happening. Can we do more? Can we do better? I think the answer to that is always. But in terms of the backlog of threats and problems and fixes that we've needed to undertake, it's happening. That's why we see for the first time in years and years, 3 of our toxic hotspot areas of concern have been knocked off the list just in the past 6 years compared to only 1 in the previous 20 years before our initiative started.
Why do you think that is?
It's for the reasons that we have a good influx of resources. I don't think we've needed more policy on this front. I don't think we've needed more monitoring. I think we have needed an influx of dollars to help get these places cleaned up and these local economies back on the grid.
I must confess, when I do hear about what environmental initiatives are going on both sides of the border, I hear more positive things about what the Americans are doing than what the Canadians are doing. I hear more sanctimony on our side of the border, but I hear more action on their side of the border. Is that accurate?
I don't know if it's accurate. I think we're taking a lot of action on the Canadian side as well. So we've had a huge investment in infrastructure, which is one of the big problems we have in our areas of concern. It's also part of the problem in that algae issue that we talked about. So $750 million spent on infrastructure, another $5 billion committed in the budget. Now that's a national figure, but you got to believe that a lot of that money for green infrastructure, water and wastewater treatment will be spent in the Great Lakes Basin and help work there. Similar to Cam's story, we've just started work this year in Hamilton Harbor on Randall Reef, the most severely contaminated sediment site on the Canadian side of the lakes. So that work is happening right now in the water.
Any idea what the budget is for that?
So that's $146 million.
Over what period of time?
The project will take 8 years to complete. But it's not a money issue. It's how long does it take to actually remediate that. It's actually being paid for through an innovative public-private sector partnership. All levels of government, federal, provincial, municipal, Hamilton Port Authority, and U.S. Steel Canada are all contributing to that project.
And Steve, I just got to say too, I think Mike's even being a little bit modest. We have seen Canada taking a lot of action, and this week's conference bears that out. Half the reason for this week's conference at the Great Lakes Public Forum is to show the action and the progress of the U.S. and Canada. And there's a lot of good work that's been happening on both sides of the border. Our jobs are to keep that action going, keep that progress going as well.
Mary, we're hearing lots of progress from the two guys whose job it is to ensure there is progress. What's your thought on it?
I agree with them in principle, but I have to say Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, basically the forgotten part of the Great Lakes. And it's simply because It's not accessible to a large extent to the public, the level that exists around Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. And Georgian Bay just gets lumped in with Lake Huron. In terms of funding, it's unique. If it was on the U.S. side, I think it would be a national historic, ecological reserve kind of thing. There's no place else like it in the Great Lakes.
Joel, let's get your take on that.
Yeah, Steve, I want to emphasize, the role of the nonprofit community in all of this. Back in the early 2000s, a lot of the ideas and the momentum for generating what became the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative really started with the NGO community, with groups of citizens getting together and rallying around these needs and recognizing there was a need to drive dollars to make some of those problems go away. And that was a highly successful effort, as you can tell sitting here today. I've seen some reinvigorated efforts on the Canadian side by the NGO community to really organize around the Great Lakes. I think those need to be nurtured and cultivated and funded, and continue to recognize that importance of rallying the public behind these causes. Because I've seen what happens when it gets focused around a cause in the U.S. It leads to great things. Now, that doesn't mean that's going to solve every problem, but it's one of those pieces of the puzzle that you've got to have.
I would like to read a little excerpt here from the progress report of the parties for the Canada-U.S. Collaboration for Great Lakes Water. This came out last week, water quality rather. Canada's 2016 federal budget announced $3.1 million in 2016-17 to Environment and Climate Change Canada to continue to improve nearshore water and ecosystem health by reducing phosphorus and the resulting algae in Lake Erie. Canada's 2016 federal budget also announced a 5-year, $5 billion investment in water, wastewater, and green infrastructure projects across Canada. This includes the $2 billion Clean Water and Wastewater Fund, of which more than $569 million has been allocated for water and wastewater projects in Ontario, and that includes projects in, but not exclusive to, the Great Lakes. So Cameron, let me follow up on something you just referenced a few moments ago. In his first term, your president set up the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. How much money's gone into it since its inception?
We've had about $2 billion US go into the program since that time, and that's really been kind of the fuel for some of the kinds of things that I mentioned before, the progress we've been able to make. And it's none too soon, because 20 years before that, I think we've been pretty much limping along. We are now, full throttle in terms of getting these areas of concern cleaned up. We've been able to use GLRI dollars to help prevent silver and bighead carp from getting into the Great Lakes through Lake Michigan. We've been able to more than double the amount of acreage in our farm area that goes into conservation practices. All of these things, it may take time to show up and for us to see these results visibly, but they are making a big, big difference.
Mary, are they?
I guess I go back to what Joel's saying. We still have a lot more to do, and I think it's up to the NGO community to continue to push to solve these huge problems. And Asian carp, I just heard today that we've got grass carp in the Sandusky River, a viable reproducing population. And I had to get up and ask, hey, just a minute now, why don't we get crews into the water with electrofishing boats and get those fish out of there before they get into Lake Erie?
And what's the answer?
Well, I didn't get an answer. It was kind of vague. We're getting there, we're planning it. It may be 2 years before we get to it, anyways. And I think without pushing, it won't happen.
Joel, go ahead. I hear you trying to get in.
I just say, Steve, it's really it's necessary but not sufficient. So one of the challenges we're facing, I know, on the U.S. side, is we've got some great progress being made on cleaning up these areas of concern, but we're also starting to confront problems that aren't just about sort of knocking out one polluter or dealing with a few bad actors. They're really part of our economic system, dealing with things like agricultural pollution and invasive species that's tied to major infrastructure changes that are needed. So these are not things that you can just make go away by spending $1 or at the stroke of a pen. They're really things that require us to look inward, think about the role we want, for example, agriculture to play in the Great Lakes economy in the future. And in my opinion, that should be one that produces clean water as well as food, and then figure out how we're going to get that through the right combination of policy and planning and funding and all that. And that goes beyond, I think, the remit of any one federal program. So there is still a lot of work to do.
Michael, can I just get you to address that issue of whether throwing more money at this problem is going to be helpful in the long run?
Money's always helpful, but it's not always the only solution. So I think, the excerpt that you read there, one of the things that we've invested our resources on Lake Erie to date has been doing the science to come up with the targets. We now agree between Canada and the US as of February of this year on a 40% reduction to phosphorus in order to address the algae problem. So we have the yardsticks that Joel mentioned we need so that we can assess and measure progress. Since that time, what we've been working on is trying to develop the plan. So again, as Joel mentioned, those really difficult questions that we have to address in terms of how do we make progress to reduce phosphorus by not an insignificant amount.
Okay, let me follow up though. We have a relatively new government in place in Canada. It's only been there for a little over a year. A new minister, obviously, therefore. It feels to me like most of what she's talked about, the Environment and Climate Change Minister in her first year on the job, is climate change. And that has really been the focus of much of her work. Haven't heard a whole heck of a lot about the Great Lakes. Would you like the Great Lakes to be a higher priority?
I always like the Great Lakes to be a high priority, but the Great Lakes and climate change aren't different issues. So why do we have all those nutrients going off of farmers' lands into the Great Lakes? Climate change. So what we're seeing is a lot more high-intensity storms in the springtime, and they're overwhelming the water management systems on those agricultural lands. So we're actually questioning whether the best management practices that farmers have used for years are currently sufficient to keep those nutrients out of the lakes. So it is a climate change issue.
Joel, if I were to ask you to evaluate the commitment by all different levels of government to resolving the issues you care about on the Great Lakes, what kind of a grade are you giving?
I got to give all levels of government, it's hard to rate. I would say that we're doing a great job at cleaning up past problems, and we're definitely getting the level of resources that's commensurate with the problem. What we really need to focus on now is recognizing that sometimes policy and new protections do need to be brought into place as well to solve these problems. In the case of dealing with agricultural pollution, I think we are going to need to see new policy frameworks as well as additional spending. We've got a challenging track record in the U.S. of making progress on agricultural pollution, and so I think we're going to have some tough challenges ahead of us. I'm confident we can get there, but we've got to have honest and transparent conversations.
And Mary, similarly to you, you've got federal involvement in this country, you've got provincial involvement, you've got local involvement. How would you characterize the level of commitment you see?
We are delighted that we finally have the same parties in Ottawa and at Queen's Park.
You mean political parties?
Parties.
Both Liberals?
Yes, both Liberal parties.
Does that make a difference?
It makes a huge difference.
How so?
The Canada-Ontario Agreement is the way funding is put in place for the Great Lakes. And it was negotiated. How many years it took before the two province and the federal government came together? And they kept calling us to meetings and saying, well, we're still talking, we're still talking. And it would happen year after year after year. And finally, we have a renewed Canada-Ontario agreement for the Great Lakes. And to hear our Environment Minister talking about climate change is music to our ears.
The federal Environment Minister?
Yes, absolutely. Catherine McKenna, absolutely. And talking about the Great Lakes at the same time and funding in the Canadian budget, this is wonderful news. I'm
going to ask this guy over here. He doesn't want to talk politics, but I'm going to ask him about politics anyway. You do have the same party in power federally as in the province of Ontario right now. Do you think that's made a difference?
I don't know if it's made a difference. I think one of the strengths of the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement between Canada and the United States, that's been around since '72. The Canada-Ontario Agreement, that's been around since '71, and as Mary pointed out, is renewed every few years. I think one of the strengths is that regardless of the political parties, we've been able to maintain cooperation and maintain the progress on the Great Lakes. So I'm not entirely sure that it makes a huge difference.
That's a very safe answer.
Thank you.
I get you. That was well played. Okay, Cam, here's one for you. What's the pollution diet?
So when I hear that term, Steve, pollution diet, what I hear is we need a budget. Just like you have a budget at home or you have a budget at TVO, when it comes to nutrient runoff, we need a budget for that. How much is going in? How much is going out? And is that a healthy level? So when I hear that term, that's usually what I hear the term pollution diet referred to. And most commonly for the Western Lake Erie Basin, to some extent the central basin of Lake Erie, but also Saginaw Bay in Michigan, also the Fox River in Green Bay in Wisconsin, where we have a lot of work left to do to try to clean these places up, to try to reduce, as Mike said before, by 40% the amount of nutrients going into these places so that we can keep improving water quality, which was one of my two top items in the beginning. Pollution diet, that's generally what that means when I hear it.
Do I presume you think that the Great Lakes ought to be on a much stricter pollution diet?
Well, when it comes to nutrients, absolutely. 40% reduction is what the two federal governments have committed to. We also have seen a collaborative agreement between Ohio, Michigan, and Ontario for basically the same reduction or diet, if you will, in terms of phosphorus. We have to make dramatic strides on that particular issue. We have got to do better.
Gotcha. I would like our director to play a clip right now. David Miller used to be the mayor of Toronto. He's now the president CEO of the World Wildlife Fund of Canada. He was on this program a couple of days ago talking about whether we love the Great Lakes enough. Roll the clip, please. Any theories as to why we don't appreciate them as much as you think we should?
I think sort of normal. It's like people don't go up the CN Tower unless they've got visitors, right? It's there. You turn the tap on, we get clean water at a very low cost. We're just used to it.
Do we take the Great Lakes for granted?
We absolutely do. And I listen to this discussion going on, and I think about every year in the late fall, dead fish and birds wash up on the south shores of Georgian Bay. And I get phone calls from people saying, well, the fish is still moving, can I eat it? And I have to say, no, get a shovel, put it in a green garbage bag and haul it off to the dump. And no government agency has gone in, collected those fish, you have to get them when they're still partly alive, to figure out what's causing these deaths. And it's likely botulism. So I tell people it's likely botulism.
Which means what? They ingested chemicals or something in the water?
No. It's probably from the warmer waters, zebra mussels, algae forming and botulism being created, and those fish and those birds eating the zebra mussels that would be contaminated with botulism. So that's what's killing them. But we need to understand this system, and we're talking about nutrient loading. Well, there's a huge plume that comes out of the Nottawasaga River into southern Georgian Bay. And we, working with McMaster, are trying to figure out what's causing this, but we need a lot more resources to understand this and to figure out a way to reduce and get this diet right.
Joel, the biggest city in Illinois, like the biggest city in Ontario, is right there on a Great Lake. And I wonder whether or not you think the people who live in that city, Chicago, of course, I'm talking, where you're coming to us now, have a significant enough appreciation of what the environmental risks are, in your case to Lake Michigan or in our case to Lake Ontario?
Well, I actually think that they do, Steve, and I think a lot of it comes down to the use. In Chicago, Chicago's got one of the most extensive, if not the most extensive, public waterfront in the world. And that means that millions of people every year connect to that waterfront through running and biking and swimming and everything else you can imagine. It's right there. It's the drinking water. And I've also traveled extensively throughout the Great Lakes. I found that in coastal places, there are a lot of people who really understand what they have, and I'm not sure that they're taking it for granted. But I also know that there are millions of people around the Great Lakes region for whom the Great Lakes and water simply isn't their top priority. And just saying Great Lakes doesn't always make the connection. So we've got some work to do. We've got to get out and we've got to figure out why the Great Lakes are relevant to people in communities around the Great Lakes region and have a conversation. Sometimes it just starts with talking. Those connections are there to be made. We've got to make sure that we're understanding how to make those lakes relevant and make water relevant to everybody in the region.
Michael, you work here in Toronto. Do you think there's an adequate awareness here in Ontario's capital city for the significance of that big body of water to the south of us?
I think there are a lot of people who are extremely engaged, whether it be in Toronto, the Bay Area Restoration Council in Hamilton, Georgian Bay Association, the citizens of Walpole Island First Nation Reserve. They're all extremely engaged in their local issues. I think where it breaks down sometimes is that in Canada, at least, we don't often talk about Great Lakes issues. So we're dealing with the issues, but we're dealing with them on a local basis. Now, we're hearing at the forum this week about a new initiative in Ontario called Greatness. And that's meant to make the Great Lakes more of a core issue to Canadians. And I think we might see some real dividends from that down the road.
To understand the interconnectedness of being on all five, in other words.
That's right. To understand the importance of the Great Lakes, why they should matter from a human health and environmental and economic perspective, and to really start caring about the Great Lakes and talking about the Great Lakes issues.
What do you think the level of awareness is, Mary, for the significance of the Great Lakes to us here in Ontario?
I agree. I agree with what Mike has just said. I think if people are right on the shorelines, they understand it. But in big metropolitan areas like Chicago, like Toronto, you get away from it, you just take for granted the water that comes out of the tap. And you don't really have a concept of what happens for that water to be safe to drink.
I wonder if part of it is, and I'm just, I'm spitballing here a little bit, so you tell me if I'm off base. In the summertime, on the waterfront, certainly in Toronto, it's packed. There's tons of stuff to do, it's fun, it's beautiful, et cetera, et cetera. But for the rest of the year, and by that I mean probably 9 months of the year, there's that big elevated highway at the, sort of the base of the city, which acts to essentially cut people off from the waterfront. And I wonder if it's, for 9 months of the year, out of sight, out of mind. I don't know.
To a certain extent, but I also think the public need to understand. I was down on the waterfront in the beaches area of Toronto this summer, and I noticed there was a dog walk area. And then I noticed, oh my goodness, there's significant algae growth along the shoreline right in front of where the dog walk area is. And I'm going like, does this make sense? I mean, yeah, there needs to be a place for people to take their dogs for a walk. But somebody needs to educate those dog owners. That's not a good place to do it.
Let me give Cam the last word on the program. Namely, how would you urge the public to sort of get more engaged on this issue, why it's important for them to know more about it?
Yeah, that is a great question. It's kind of a psychological question too. I would say start with what is important to you. One of the difficulties in having a conversation about the Great Lakes is not everybody kind of starts from this basis of thinking about the Great Lakes, but there are a lot of people out there who think about taking their family to that neighborhood beach. There are a lot of people out there who may have a getaway, a family or a friend has a getaway place that's on or near the Great Lakes. So I think part of the way, Steve, to elevate that conversation is to start with where people are in the first place. Start with what they're familiar with, and then move into elevating on the conversation of the Great Lakes.
Mary wants a quick last rejoinder.
Yes, because I think we need to get young people involved. And one of the good things about this Great Lakes Forum this week, because it's free, there are school children that are attending.
Oh, good.
So we've been getting Twitter questions from these kids asking questions about the Great Lakes, and they're provocative and they're asking probing questions, and we're answering them, doing our best.
Because kids love the Twitter. Good stuff. Joel Brandmeier for the Alliance for Great Lakes, we thank you for being there on the line from Chicago on the beautiful shores of Lake Michigan. Thanks, Joel. Nice to meet you.
Thanks,
Mary
Steve.
Mutter is here from from Georgian Bay Great Lakes Foundation. Cameron Davis from the Environmental Protection Agency, which of course was created by that great progressive American president, Richard Nixon. There you go. And Michael Goffin from Environment and Climate Change Canada is here as well. Thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate your participation on TVO tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit TVO.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.